We've learned that description is to represent or give an account of in words, and that when we observe an object, that we can notice it may be of a certain size, it may have a certain shape, there may be different colors in parts of it, it might have an orientation this way or that way, and if it is moving, we might be able to observe its direction or its speed. So this process of describing something is a very important aspect of doing science, because we have to be able to observe and describe something before we can understand it. So let's go ahead and apply this approach to description to the following illustration. We can notice that of all of the items shown in the illustration, most of them are circular. And so maybe the first thing we should do to describe what we're looking at, what we observe, is to count the number of circles. There's a large outer one with two small circles superimposed on it, that's 3, and an inner cluster of 4. So that's a total of 7 circles to start. The large outer one with the two smaller ones that are superimposed has the two small circles oriented, if this were the face of a clock, has them oriented at the 3 and the 9 o'clock positions, or if this were a compass, east and west. And those two small circles have a symbol inside of them that looks like a little bar. We could call it a minus sign. Now the 4 circles that are clustered in the center are divided into 2 groups of 2. We've got 2 circles that are shaded, and each of those 2 shaded circles have a symbol in the center which resembles a plus sign. And the other 2 circles are clear or colored white, and they are oriented in a different position. The circles that are shaded and have plus signs are sort of off to the side, right and left, and the 2 clear circles are sort of top and bottom. There's also a sense that these are oriented differently on top of one another. So, for example, one of the shaded circles with a plus appears to be on top of all the others, and the other shaded circle appears behind the 2 clear ones. So that's a difference in orientation or position. Now, if we look at the size of the outermost circle that has the 2 small ones at 3 and 9 o'clock, the outermost circle is about twice the diameter of the cluster in the center. And so that tells us something about the relative sizes of these. Also, the small circles that are on the large one surrounding the cluster, they're about half the diameter of the 4 clustered circles in the center. Now, from additional information, we're told that this represents a helium atom. And so even though the picture doesn't identify it by label, we know that the 4 particles in the center represent the 4 particles of a helium nucleus. And because the plus sign represents in an atom the positive charge, we can say that those 2 shaded circles represent the protons. And the other 2 must represent neutrons, because neutrons are the other particles in the nucleus. And because this is said to represent a helium atom, those 2 small circles superimposed on the large one outside of the cluster, those must represent the electrons. And we know that electrons have a negative charge, and so the symbol that looks like a little bar must represent the single negative charge for each electron. Now remember, the illustration doesn't actually have any labels telling us that the particular circles in the center are the neutrons and the others are the protons and so on and so forth. So we're not actually able to describe the identity of the particles from the illustration itself. We're getting that information from outside knowledge. All right, so that's a full description of this illustration, and there may be other characteristics and properties as well. But in any case, remember, a description is to give an account of in words. And I think we've got something like 15 or 16 characteristics that describe this illustration. Now, you may think that's a lot of detail, but remember that attention to the detail of objects or events in science is really what helps us to understand those complex properties of nature. So let's continue to develop our ability to describe as we proceed through this course, and we will be able to disentangle a great deal of information about the way the Earth works.